Faith, it was a beautiful service. And I tell you, I found it very touching, the fact that you included Father McShane.
I dreaded the idea of a eulogy. It seemed so inappropriate for Edmund. Plus, I didn't really trust Reverend Green to restrain himself. And then I thought, Mac will know. He'll know the right thing to say, and of course he did.
Oh, indeed you did. I think it was a greater help to Francis than anything that's been said so far.
Maeve, I have to tell you, I'm a little worried about Frank. He was able to mourn Edmund right after the accident. He talked, and I know he managed to divert some of his anger to Seneca, but then he just closed up. And now I don't know what's going on with him.
For one thing, he's exhausted.
Yes, and for another, he's worried about Gillian. My dear, he's lost his son, and now he's got to cope with the idea of possibly losing the son's mother.
I thought he'd lost her already.
I mean, she's over in that hospital in dreadful agony with the possibility of all of them saying that she might have permanent back trouble. I mean, he's got a few things on his mind.
And for another thing, Frank can't publicly mourn Edmund. And these days, when is Frank absolutely sure he isn't in public? I had to focus on something during the funeral, so I myself wouldn't fall apart. And I just watched his face. It was so sad, yet absolutely still.
Why don't you let me fill that for you, son, huh?
No, thanks, Doc. Thank you. It's a waste of good liquor. I can't taste it, and it's having no effect.
Frank, just out of curiosity, how much sleep have you had since the accident?
A couple of hours, I guess.
Well, my prescription is to apply yourself to this until you do feel it and sleep till you wake up. And then do whatever you have to do to make yourself mourn.
Thanks, Patty. I appreciate the advice. I just don't think I can act on it right now. Do you think there's any word on Jill?
Why don't I go call and find out, huh?
Thank you.
Ma.
Oh, dear.
Can you think of any way to get to Frank? I mean, he really needs to deal with this, and he can't.
I know, dear. I just feel so bad for him.
I'm gonna go check in at the hospital.
The October winds lament around the castle of Dramur.
What?
And yet
It's a family song that she sang to all of us and to the grandchildren.
My loving treasure store. If autumn leaves will droop and die, a bud of spring are you. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo, la-lo. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo. Take time to thrive, my ray of hope, in the garden of Dramur. Take heed, young eaglet, till thy wings are ready and fit to soar. A little rest, and then the world is full of work to do. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo, lo-la. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo, lo-la. Sing hush-a-bye-loo, la-loo.
Not for Edmund, though,
Not on this earth, at any rate.
nearly destroyed us all with that song, Maeve.
Oh, thank you, Rasha. I hope the damage isn't permanent.
Frank will come through. My mother went through our father's funeral, and 6 days after, and never shed a tear. And then one evening, after supper, she went into the parlor where he'd been waked, and she lay down on the couch, and she cried all night. She got up in the morning, and from that day, to my knowledge, she never wept for him, although I know for sure that she missed him desperately till the day she died.
The funeral was held at your home then?
Oh, yes, the mass was in the church, of course, but he was laid out at home.
Were you there, Maeve?
I had a case of influenza and they wouldn't let me get on the plane. No, I was not. But I've been told that it was splendid.
Oh, it was.
See, the Clearys believe in conducting births and deaths and all great events in the home, when and if possible. That's where they lived. And my father was fortunate enough to die at home and to be buried there. And that's just the way he would have wanted it, right, Annie?
Oh, it was a splendid party, truly. He had taught school in Skibbereen for 40 years, so everyone in town was his friend or his student or his political comrade in arms. And the day of the wake, the house was full and the people spilled out onto the pathways and into the yard. They were sitting on the pasture fence in the bright sunshine. It was a gorgeous day in late May. And they were sitting on the steps leading up to the old barn or standing around the fields. They were all smiles and tears, and they were telling each other stories about himself and singing his songs. And my mother said the only pity of it was that he wasn't there to enjoy it all. Mikey Cleary. The only place that was still was the parlor. And people went in twos and threes and said a prayer and came out again into the kitchen and then into the sunlight. I remember thinking how right it was that the people he loved should see him for the last time in that place, surrounded by the things in his life that he cherished. His rocking chair by the fireplace. He'd come in of an afternoon and have his tea and then take his books and his papers to the chair and study there work there until supper time. To me, at any rate, it was a place of great authority because of him, and it was because the place was especially his and because of the photographs. There they were, Mother and his brothers and sisters, our relatives, marching across the mantelpiece. One was in some way responsible to them. Those are the faces of the people in the family stories, and they presided over our studies, our prayers, our family conferences in the parlor, and they listened to our private conversations with Da.
And the rocker, what's happened to that?
Oh, it's safe, dear. We have it. Redmond mended it for Catherine, and she uses it still. I remember so well standing in the hallway smelling pipe smoke and knowing I could go around the corner and sit in the little rocker and tell him the trouble, whatever it was, and he'd solve it for me or show me a way to solve it myself.
Yes. I can remember it, standing outside in that hall under Grandfather O'Donovan's picture, thinking to myself, when I was in trouble, if he was a Republican hero and he went straight to heaven, surely he knows I'm in trouble. He's got to be able to help out.
Yeah, like the time you forgot to milk the cows.
Oh, indeed.
There were so many treasures in that room, which meant nothing to anyone but us, and so many memories. But that day, I think, is closest in my memory of all. We took turns sitting up through the night, and it was the loveliest, the most natural goodbye in the world. By the time we got to Mass the next morning, it truly was a celebration. Joy in the man we'd loved and the life he'd led.
I wish you could have been there, lady.
Oh, John, I'm not thinking about my father's funeral. I'm thinking about the old house and how it was then and how it is now. And the fact that it's going to go for taxes.
Well, it mustn't be allowed to happen, that's all. It just must not.
Refill? No, thanks.
Frank still hasn't really loosened up.
Oh, he'll be all right. You know, there's enough emotional support in this room for him. It's more than most people get in their whole lives.
And you don't like that very much?
I keep thinking about Seneca going back to Jill's room and sitting by her bed.
You think Frank doesn't want to be there? I mean, we asked Seneca to be over here. Look, I feel for Seneca, too. In terms of needing someone to turn to, he's in the worst position of all.
Now, I wish your brother could appreciate that.
I think he does. As much as anyone could expect him to.
Listen, I've wondered many times to myself, just who the hell does Frank think he is?
Well,
How are the two of you doing?
All right, we were just discussing points of view.
Rogers, actually.
I was about to start on Tom's. Pat, something you said reminded me that I talked to Tom this morning, and I wanted to bring you up to date.
What, his eyes?
No. No, there's no sign that he's going to regain his vision. But he is feeling better, and in fact, he's convinced that he can manage outside the hospital, and he's determined to be discharged. But he wants very much to be on his own. I mean, with nursing help if necessary, but at his own apartment. Now, apparently his tenant is moving out.
Roger, I hope you told him that's out of the question.
No, I didn't.
You both know that he is in danger if he's deported. Aside from his health, he could be killed if he's sent back to Ireland.
I spoke to Ray and Bob about that, and they're sure that Frank can help Tom with his citizenship faster.
All the more reason for him to come back to the house when he's discharged. If Frank asks for special treatment, you know that they're going to send an immigration investigator over to check out the situation.
Yeah, but you don't know that for sure.
Well, I assume it because it's obvious. Isn't it to you?
Faith, look, I'm just telling you what Tom said. Beyond that, I'm going to take the easy way out and go back to the hospital.
No, now don't let me run you out.
No, you're not. It's all right. Good night.
Bye. Let's just drop it, all right?
No. Let's talk inside. Now, please, what are you trying to do? I mean, I don't understand.
I'm trying to do what's right.
I don't think that's true.
It is. I'm trying to fulfill my promise to Tom.
Your promise? Your marriage vows?
No. Don't you realize the danger if he is sent back to Ireland?
Faith, what promise are you talking about?
To see him through till he's a citizen.
I see, so it's right for you to give Tom another year and a half.
It won't be that long. Pat, I want a clean slate. For us, I want us to start out right.
That word, right, you throw it around an awful lot. A month ago, it was right for you to love me and get Tom out of your life as soon as possible.
I do love you. I love you. Can't you trust that and wait for me?
Yes, I can wait for you. But I won't wait for Tom.
Now I don't understand.
Well, if you're not ready to live with me, be my lover, marry me eventually, I'll wait. But Tom has got to be out of the picture.
Why?
Because you feel guilty about him, and having him with you feeds that guilt. And guilt moves you.
Guilt moves me more than love? Is that what you think?
Honey, it's what I'm afraid of.
Well, you're wrong.
Just prove it to me. Show me.
How? By walking out on a man who's blind, who's been victimized
by his body. Then you victimized by him. Then you victimizing yourself, and on, till until supposedly you end up with that clean slate for us. But that won't happen, honey. Exactly the opposite will happen.
Are you suggesting that because we stay under the same roof that I'll end up sleeping with him?
No, I wish it were as simple as jealousy. I really do.
Well, maybe it's as simple as lack of trust.
Nope.
Is it that simple?
No.
Am I a liar? Am I insane because I've offered temporary shelter to a good man who faces a number of dangers? Does that make me insane?
Faith.
No, Pat, wait, listen to me. Maybe you don't love me as much as you say you do.
Is it the other way around?
Oh, you amaze me. Now you're asking for my proof of love after everything. You know what? You're asking me to choose between you and my self-respect.
I think it's your guilt.
My self-respect, damn it. No matter how you see it, Pat, I feel an obligation towards Tom. I'd spend a handful of days with him on the most superficial level, and you say exactly the opposite will happen. Do you think that he's just gonna swallow me up? Am I that hopeless?
Have you once considered an alternative to his coming home with you? Have you considered it even for a minute?
No, because there isn't one.
Well, how about a rehabilitation center? He's blind, and he needs training. Immigration would hardly question the state of your marriage.
But he may get his sight back.
Yeah, but in the meantime...
In the meantime, Riverside has a training on an outpatient basis.
But he could live elsewhere. That's it. Live elsewhere. But there's an excellent center up at White Plains, and you can visit him.
No, that would be...
Too easy. It'll be too easy. That'll be letting you off the hook, and you're not looking for that. I think even when Tom's a citizen, it'll be too easy. Because you won't have suffered enough. Won't have been good enough, right enough. Why can't you see? Tom has told you that he doesn't want to come home with you, and Roger's told you the same thing. I've told you. And what's your reaction? He's got to stay with you. That's your need speaking, Faith, no one else's.
Pat, I will divorce him, I swear.
No, you think he's good and brave and kind and innocent. Every damn virtue in the book. You think that today, right now. But after weeks of sharing meals in space with this paragon, what are you going to do? Come dancing right into my arms? Never. Because I'm going to be the intruder. I'm going to walk away, be in the way. You're setting this up, Faith, and I'm not going to go along with it. You have got to stop and try to see things as the way they really are.
Oh, stop it. All I want is to help Tom and to love you at the same time. And what you want is my total attention. It's not fair to put me in that position, Pat. You're bullying me, and I hate it.
Bullying you? That's the way you see it? If that's so, then it's over for us. Will you let Tom go, please?
When the time's right, give me a month.
In other words, goodbye.
You're behaving like a fool.
That's it, then.
Goodbye.
We should be thinking about going back to Washington.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm going to stop by the hospital first.
No.
No?
I don't mean to sound dictatorial, but... Look, Frank, I know she's in serious condition, but her husband is with her now, and you have no business being there.
I'll meet you at the car in 30 minutes.
Frank, please, for heaven's sake.
Take a car down if you prefer, and I'll take the shuttle.
I'll have the car outside the emergency room entrance. I'm not here. Just go on and get your ice. Nothing is going on.
What's going on?
Frank,
Frank already left for the hospital.
oh, I know damn well where he is. Bobby, what do I have to do? What do I have to be? I have given Frank Ryan absolutely everything I know how to give, and she has taken and taken and made demands. And I'm standing here waiting to bring him back to Washington where he belongs, and he's over there with her.
Ray, under the circumstances, I can kind of understand how Frank could be concerned about Jill.
But how concerned? I mean, am I out of touch with reality? It seems to me that everybody in his whole family, everybody thinks there's absolutely nothing wrong with him being obsessively concerned with another man's wife. And you know something else? Once, just once, I wish you'd be half as much concerned with me.
It's, over. I wish you could have been there, Jill. I miss him. I miss you.
What if you could change your past? Erica does, every week, because sometimes the only way to move forward is to go back. A new original primetime drama, Being Erica, tonight at 10 on SoapNet.